I wanted to ask you guys about Arsenal. I'm not too sure of your individual predictions, but I was thinking about across the straight facts fraternity, as it were, all the people that come on shows. Quite a lot of people, being Sam, I think Mo did, Giuseppe definitely did. A lot of people predicted Arsenal to win the league. It's been like a kind of a weird week or so for Arsenal. They obviously had the draw against Brighton. There's been all the controversy around the red card for Declan Rice. They've had the injury to Marino, which has come at the wrong time for them. And suddenly there seems to be a lot of panic around them as a football club. You may not have predicted them to win the league, but are Arsenal suddenly being... Is it right that Arsenal are suddenly now being written off as having no chance of winning the league by a lot of people at this stage? Or do you think that's a little bit premature?
Have they been written off? Or are people having doubts?
From doubts right through to being written off. I just want to see if your mind changed about Arsenal at all in these opening 3 games based on what we've seen. It seems like there's a little bit of a meltdown online, especially from people that are not particularly behind Arteta. It's almost, or don't like the way the Cronkies run the club. It's like they had a couple of injuries and it's like, we're done. We're finished. It's over. Like, how do you boys see it?
I actually have a strong opinion on this. So I wouldn't write Arsenal off whatsoever. I'm not going to write them off. I'm not going to have doubts that they'll at least be in the top 3. So I'm not going to change that. However, I do look at something. I've been thinking about that because I looked at the way that they played the first 3 games. I'm not really convinced by the way they played. I'll be very honest with you. And I thought about this. Sir Alex Ferguson used to say that he used to like to freshen up stuff every 3 years. So he was like, to maintain winning, he used to like to just change up stuff. He didn't like being stagnant for too long. So I look at this Arsenal team. They competed for 2 years in a row. This season, I'm not going to lie, and I said this in the summer when I was talking about their signings, what they should do just to purely just switch up stuff. I don't see that this team is very different than last year's, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I think they might have needed to strengthen somewhere up the attack. I thought they needed a left winger. People said they need a striker. Fair enough. We can be different on that one. But I feel like completely going with the same team they had last year, adding Calafiori and Marino and deadline Sterling doesn't really move me. I'm not gonna lie to you. None of these guys come in and I think they're guaranteed starters. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, you're pretty much full strength with last teams. No one really is coming in and is making a significant change, I should say. Yes, it's good depth, don't get me wrong, before people start crying in the chat. But none of them come in and they significantly make a difference. Like, it's not like someone is coming in to take over a position. Sterling is not starting on the left wing. Marino, maybe he's the only one that has an argument that he's going to start over Partey, but we'll wait and see that one. And I don't think Calafiori is going to start, at least for now. So I'm looking at all that and I'm like, okay, there's nothing significant that changed. They didn't do basically what we did. Remember when we lost the league by goal difference and went and got like a Van Persie? That's completely switching your team. That, like, you moved the needle with that signing. I don't think they've done any of that. To look at this and I'm like, you know what? This team now is refreshed. There's new ideas. There's new things to make opposition managers think about. I didn't see them do that. And I look at it in a mental aspect for these players. They fell short 2 seasons in a row. Fair enough, they put up a decent fight the last 2 seasons, but they fell short twice in a row. How many of these players will have the mentality to go again for a 3rd year? Now, I'm not saying they won't, but I can't also assume that all of them have the same elite mentality where, like, I don't care that we failed twice. We go again. Some of them will. Don't get me wrong. I think some of them will. I think I look at Rice. I'm like, you know what? Rice looks like he has the mentality that I failed, but we go again. There's some players that I don't. Do I know if they're going to have the same mentality to go again with the same ideas, with the same exact strengths of the squad? I don't think they switched up enough. And when I look, as I said, as historic managers like Sir Alex, he said he always used to freshen up things every 3 years so he can just like have this new element of competition in his team. That's what he did with Stem. Stem won 3 Premier Leagues, and he got rid of him and got a new defender. And everyone thought he was crazy. And to be fair, he was crazy. He admitted he was wrong for that. But that's the mentality that winning managers had. I don't think Arteta did that to his team this season. I don't know. So if they drop off a little bit, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to rule them out. That's crazy. But if they drop off a little bit, I can't say that I'll be surprised. Equally, I do want to make this take, Terry, because I think I've watched the first 3 games of Liverpool that I watched. I'm not going to lie. I have a sneaky feeling that they may actually compete for the league this year if they stay healthy, because their squad is not good enough. But I'm looking at their team. I genuinely believe they could actually just slightly go over Arsenal and they could actually compete for the league this year. If Liverpool finish second this year or they compete for the league, I actually wouldn't be surprised. I didn't think they would in the beginning, but I look at what Arne Slot has done, and I look at exactly what I actually said, the opposite of what Arsenal have done. I look at freshness in this team. Just a new manager and a new voice being there might be what some of these players need, because some of these players are still world class, regardless of them leaving next season or not. Salah's still world class. Trent's still world class. What's his name? Van Dijk is still world class. Alisson is still world class. They have enough world class players with a new manager with fresh ideas, and as I said, just purely a new voice that might just like motivate you in the locker room. I think they might do something. The football that they're playing is good enough. So if they maintain that, I think they actually might compete for the league this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead Arsenal.
Yeah, I think Liverpool have been overlooked. And I think the big thing was the players, I don't think were an issue. As much as Klopp is one of the best Premier League managers ever, I think he was just burnt out. You could sort of see it to him in the end. He just seemed burnt out. And now you've got a new manager's come in that's hungry, wants to prove himself with those quality players. I can fully see them being up there. I think it's not just a case of looking at Arsenal's performances and going, yeah, like 3 games in, it's looking shaky. Like, it's looking at Man City's performances as well, because Man City have just looked sharp as ever. Like, everyone talked about, and a lot of people were saying, oh, like they're not going to have the motivation to do 5. Now they've done 4. I mean, they said that after 3. Like, are they going to have the same hunger and desire? You talked about mentality, Staffy. Like, they have that mentality, and it comes from the manager. Like, they are about that. So, yeah, I think it's just that case where Arsenal have to be near enough perfect. Like, they can't afford to slip. And we've seen that first slip already. They've got Spurs away, then Man City away. This is a key period, right? Is if they come out of those games with 1 or no points, it depends. If that 1 point is against Man City, that's something. But if they go to Spurs and lose or draw, and then lose to Man City, and Man City win their next 2, which include Arsenal, that gap, we're talking like if they lose, that's an 8-point gap. You know what I mean? Like this stage of the season. And these gaps, they can go on a run. And
I get that. Look, City were my pick to win the league at the start. So from my point of view, nothing has really changed. I just found it interesting looking at people that even in our group chats, people have been like, I predicted Arsenal to win. I'm not sure now. Nothing has happened in the first 3 games that has changed my mind about City, Arsenal, or Liverpool. I felt all along, all 3 would be in the title race. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. And yes, Arsenal had a horrible end to the first little segment of Premier League football. Moreno breaks his shoulder in the first training session. Declan Rice gets sent off when they're dominating and they drop some points. These things are going to happen to every team to a certain degree. It may not be that exact order for City or Liverpool, but there's going to be some peaks and there's going to be some troughs. Sterling is going to be key here, because I felt all along with Marino coming in and Calafiori that if they added a top attacker, someone that is going to score lots of goals for them or create more chances for them, I felt they could just pip City. That could be that freshness, as you've mentioned there, Stavy, that freshness, that new motivation. Oh, we've got someone else that's scoring goals. That can rejuvenate everybody. We've seen it at all clubs that have been in title races before, all clubs at that level. I think if Sterling can come in and be a success, and it is a very big if. I've seen the interviews. I've seen how happy he looks. I'm waiting to see him kick a ball before I make a judgment.
Yeah,
part of me thinks, you know what, a really good system, a good atmosphere. You could just get a little bit of a renaissance from him. There is also the possibility that he is finished and you get the Chelsea Raheem Sterling, lots of chances missed, not enough goals. But if Sterling can turn it on, they've got a really, really good chance of winning it. However, having said all of that, I think Arsenal fans are like already changing their mind. No, actually, I gave it the big and all summer. We ain't doing it. I just think slow down a little bit. I think a little bit of that panic is I'm going to change my opinion really quickly because I want to make sure I'm right. Does that make sense? If I change it quickly, make it very public and noisy that I'm changing my opinion, I might be right. Because a lot of people just want to be on the right side of the outcome as opposed
the
to
reasons for picking Arsenal weren't sound. It was just based off of just feelings and like, oh, I feel like Man City won't have the hunger. Oh, Arsenal were close, and if they had a player, so they didn't have genuine.
I get that. I don't think much has changed. I still see it as 1, 2, 3, City, Arsenal, Liverpool. I think it will be a close title race, as we've seen in the last 2 years. I think Liverpool's biggest issue, excuse me, very late night last night. Liverpool's biggest issue is I don't think they've bought enough in the summer, and I think they'll get to about March and start tailing off with all the football they're playing. I think they needed another, again, unless Chiesa becomes a Chiesa of 4 years ago, and there's a chance, then that might change. As an example, if Gravenberch keeps performing like this in that kind of DM6 role, if it isn't just a sort of, you remember when Arsenal brought back about a decade ago now, maybe, but when they brought, what was that player's name? He was playing at Charlton and they brought him back, and he played in midfield. Then he left a few years. I swear he went Villarreal. Someone in the comments.
What's his nationality?
I can't remember. Yeah, well, not Flamini.
Not Flamini. Flamini.
Someone's going to write his name for us. I've just forgot the guy's name. Again, further proof I'm not an Arsenal fan. That's it. Him.
Coquelin.
I was going to say Capuy, but I was like, no, it's the
no.
Yeah. I knew it was the French guy.
Do you remember when he came back from? I don't know if you guys remember this. I remember he came from Charlton, went into the Arsenal team, and for a few weeks or a few months, he looked amazing. Good. You saw it, and it was like, oh wow, why was he even out on loan? Look how amazing! And then he kind of fizzled out. So, if for instance,
I remember Hazard spinning him, like he completely ruined him, like Hazard.
He just drifted away. But if Arsenal, not of Arsenal, sorry, if Liverpool, if Gravenberch continues as he is now, and Chiesa is a really good signing, then maybe they will go the course. I think with Arsenal, it's all about, again, I'm not putting their season on Jadon Sancho. That's out of order. Because if Jadon Sancho, if Raheem Sterling is amazing and everybody else flops, it won't matter. But if Arsenal were as good as they were last year and Sterling delivers, that could get them over the line. But it's going to be close. And I just don't think much has changed. I feel like the meltdown and the panic because of one draw is a madness. I agree. If you go and lose to City away, lose to Spurs away, and as you say, end up being 6, 7, 8 points off the top, then start to ask some major questions. But I just don't think you have to panic right now. I don't think you've got to put the negativity out there right now. If you never thought they were going to win it, if you think they're going to flop, if you think they're going to have a bad season, then I understand. Keep that energy because you already thought it. They're not the individuals I'm talking about. It's the people that have gone from, I think we might win it, to season's done after 3 games. It's mad to me. It's crazy.
Is this real? Someone said in the chat, Bosby said, not Bosby, he's calling us out. Rampage said that White Yardy said Sterling was his favourite player at Arsenal just after his first interview. That's insane. The way they get hyped on these signings.
I think it's a Jamaican thing.
Rampage scratching?
I can't. What minute was that comment? Sorry. If you
this was at 5:04. 5:04 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He said that. Yeah,
That's
it. This is how they get hyped on news. That's mad to me. Forget Saka, forget Rice,
But I think it's a Jamaican bias, though. Isn't he Jamaican?
Yeah. They're both Jamaican, but both Jamaican men. So I kind of. But favorite doesn't mean you think they're your best, because David Beckham was one of my favorites. Teddy Sheringham was one of my favorites, but Teddy Sheringham was never our best player. Do you know what I mean? Staffy's favorite was Sancho. He was never our best player, but he was Staffy's favorite. It's true.
My favorite was actually Rooney, so don't do that. The first jersey I ever bought was Rooney. It was the number 8 jersey before he even had it.
But has anyone had a favorite player before they've kicked a ball? Have you ever signed a player?
I have one.
I hear, if that's your logic, I get you. Yeah, I get you. Because I could be your favorite when he hasn't even played yet.
I did it
you
once.
Can't say Ronaldo.
No. I did it once when we signed Javier Hernandez. There was something about the deal, the way it was announced, and I just remember saying to my other half at the time, I was like, I love this kid. When you ain't seen him play, I said, trust me. I named one of my cats after him. I had a cat and I called it Chicha. I loved him. I loved the guy. It was something about him. And do you know do you know what? Do you know what it really was? And it was just, and then when he came in, I already thought, oh, this guy's gonna be good. And then I remember I was MUTV subscriber at the time, and he went on a US tour, and he was in the lobby, and we had a backup goalkeeper called Thomas Cusack, I think was his name.
The fucking
Thomas
Polish
Cusack.
guy. I know you.
Yeah, Polish goalkeeper. He was standing in reception as well, like this, just daydreaming, and the cameras are there. And Javier Hernandez walks right up to him and says hi, and he thinks it's some fan, and Cusack just sort of went, "You're right," and then ignored him. And then somebody official walked out and said, "Javier, you're going to come with us?" And he goes, "Oh my God!" Hello, like shakes his hand properly and says hello to him. He's a teammate, and that's what I sort of loved. It was probably the last time Man United signed a good player that was completely unknown to the world. And social media's kind of made it hard to do that. But yeah, that was the last time it happened to me.
Apparently, he wasn't talking about Sterling. He was talking about Coquelin was his favourite player, Whitey Hardy said. So
okay. We went off.
He was talking about Sterling. I thought that's what
Coquelin.
Coquelin.
No, I kind of get it. But I think we've all had players at our clubs that weren't the best player at our club, weren't even were average, but we liked them. Like I had it like Jordi Cruyff as a kid. I just sort of liked him. It's like, I love Jordi Cruyff. You know, there's certain players, they're not that good, but you kind of like them, their personality.
Thomas Repka for me back in the day, he was a nutter. Thomas Repka at West Ham. Yeah, I get that.
Wait, Lotus, what was that centre back that played for you guys that I said looked like you, had the goatee? What's his name? Something Collins.
James Collins.
Yeah. The first time I ever saw Lawless, I was like, yo, he looks like they're centre back.
I'm not ginger.
I know, but the bald head and everything. I was like, yo, that's
Ginger Pele. Just know that there's only one Ginger Pele.
It's because Sterling is the first and only Jamaican born. It's not hyping the signing. It turns out it wasn't even about him, to be fair.
It weren't even his thing.
The Arsenal fan base always has a meltdown after the transfer window and after the first 3 games. It's predictable. And Ray here says Arsenal ain't winning the league. They're still weak mentally and quite lucky not to lose.